Hi everyone, I'm Nina Spears, also known as the Baby Chick, and I am thrilled to have you here today on our YouTube channel. If you're expecting, you might be hearing some talk about birth plans. Maybe you're curious, confused, or maybe you're a little overwhelmed by the idea. That's okay, because today I'm here to simplify it for you. In this video, we'll walk through what a birth plan is, why it's helpful, what to include, and a few key things to consider along the way. By the end, you'll have everything you need to create a birth plan that fits your unique needs and values for the birth experience you want. Plus, I have a free birth plan template and checklist just for you to make the whole process even easier. So stick around for those details. Now, let's start with the basics. What is a birth plan? Simply put, a birth plan is a written 1 to 2 page document that outlines your main preferences for labor, birth, and immediate postpartum. It covers everything from how you'd like to manage contractions, what pain management options you prefer, to who you'd like in the room, pushing preferences, C-section preferences, to even those early hours after your baby is born. Basically, it's a communication tool between you, your birth team, and anyone who might be involved in supporting your birthing experience. But before I go on, I want to remind you that a birth plan isn't a guarantee. This document you create isn't a contract because birth can be unpredictable. However, having a plan means you've done your research, you've listed what's most important to you, and you're better prepared for your birthing experience and can feel more in control in the process no matter what happens. What are the benefits of having a birth plan, you ask? Creating a birth plan really has so many benefits. The first one is knowledge, because knowledge equals power and confidence. As you approach your baby's due date, you're more than likely feeling anxious about giving birth, and I want you to know those feelings are very normal. I've been to tons of births, and even I was a little scared about going into labor with my 2 kids, because as I mentioned, birth is unpredictable and the unknown can be scary. But as I tell all of my doula clients, the best way to combat those anxious and uneasy feelings is to educate yourself. The more you know, the better choices you can make for yourself, and the more confident and prepared you'll feel entering your labor and birth experience. So think of writing your birth plan as an exercise. It's arming you with knowledge and confidence, and with confidence, you'll improve your chances of having a more positive birth experience, and that is truly powerful. Number 2, you're better able to advocate for yourself and your baby. Not only does knowledge about the labor and birth experience give you more confidence, but it also helps you speak up for the things that are important to you. You should be an active participant in your labor and baby's birth. This is your body and your baby. Your voice should be heard because you're in charge and you should be in the driver's seat. But we need the others around you to know what you want without you having to say too much, because we want you to focus on your contractions and relaxing your body. So your birth plan is advocating for yourself, and it can do the talking for you. And number 3, it's a helpful guide for your partner. Maybe you've told your partner or a support person helping you during labor and birth that they must remember all of your desires. Of course, they're going to do their best to support you during the big day, but more than likely, because they've probably never supported someone through labor and delivery before, they won't be exactly sure what's happening every step of the way. They won't know when or how to speak up and advocate for your preferences. And this is why a birth plan can also be a helpful guide and reminder for your partner of what you both discussed and agreed upon. Also, having a professional in the room designated to remember all of your choices, like a birth doula, is a great option. Even doulas like to have notes of what their clients' preferences are, and some even require a birth plan from their clients so they can be the best advocate and support person during their client's baby's birth. These are all great reasons to create a birth plan for yourself. And number 4, it helps everyone be on the same page. When you walk into the hospital or birthing center with your birth plan, everyone is on the same page as you and understands your preferences. Remember, your doctor or midwife might not be on call when you go into labor. You could have multiple nurses caring for you throughout your experience. And a birth plan will ensure the doctor or midwife and nurses caring for you know your wants and desires. This reduces misunderstandings, and there are no questions about what's important to you. Everyone is on the same page, literally. All right, let's dive into what you'll want to include in your birth plan. Number one, it's your general and important information. At the top of your birth plan, list your general information and the most important info your healthcare team needs to know about you. This is where you're going to include details like your name, your partner's name, your due date, if you're having a doula, their name, your baby's pediatrician, and more. Regarding important information, you'll want to write down any medical history they need to know about. So some examples include if you're GBS positive, have gestational diabetes, preeclampsia, or high blood pressure, if you have an STI, placenta previa, if you've experienced trauma in the past, and if this is your first, second, third, etc. baby. All of this information is super helpful for them to know. Next, you'll want to write out what you prefer during labor. A main point your labor and delivery team want to know is what you prefer for pain relief. If you're hoping for a vaginal birth, do you want to go unmedicated, also sometimes referred to as natural, or do you want medication for pain relief? If you're unsure what you want, I recommend looking at the Pain Management Preference Scale written by Penny Simpkin, and I'll include the link in the description so you can look at that. It can help you have a better understanding of where you stand if you're on the fence about this decision. Some things to consider when writing your birth plan: who do you want in your labor and delivery room with you? Are residents allowed? How much movement do you want to have? Pain medication does limit you with this option. Do you want IV or a hep lock? Would you like to use a birthing ball or a peanut ball? Would you like to labor in a tub or shower? Or do you want to play a birth playlist when you're in labor? Do you want to wear your own clothing? Would you like to eat and drink freely during labor? What type of pain medication do you want or are you open to? Epidural or spinal, nitrous oxide, IV pain medication, general anesthesia? Or would you prefer natural methods for pain relief? For example, hot and cold compresses, dimmed lights and using music, counterpressure and massage, acupressure, hydrotherapy, aromatherapy, and more. There are a lot of options, and you should consider what you'd like for your labor experience. Even consider a plan B for different scenarios. What if your labor stalls out? Are you open to Pitocin, or would you rather have the option to walk the halls and do nipple stimulation first? Or perhaps you're okay with them breaking your water, or maybe you're totally against it. By creating a birth plan, you learn all of these options that are available to you, and this helps you determine your top preferences and what you'd like to happen next if things don't go as planned. Okay, the next section, pushing preferences. Once your cervix is fully effaced, is 10 centimeters dilated, and your baby is engaged in your pelvis, it's time to start pushing. But how do you prefer to push? Do you want to push upright, squat, maybe using a squat bar? Do you want to push on your side, spontaneously push, or be coached while pushing? Or push when you're kneeling, push on all fours, use stirrups, have a water birth, use a mirror to help see if you're pushing effectively. I will say that not all of these options may be available to you depending on where you're choosing to give birth and if you choose a certain pain medications. So go over them with your doctor or midwife and see which ones are available to you and determine which ones you're most interested in. You'll also want to have a space on your birth plan that are about in case of emergencies. As I mentioned before, birth is an unpredictable event. Sometimes things come up and we have to change the plan to have a healthy mom and baby. If you or your baby experience an emergent scenario, it's good to have an understanding of what could happen. If you're pushing and your baby needs to be delivered quickly, are you familiar and comfortable with second stage interventions like a vacuum birth, forceps, or getting an episiotomy? Do you know how these are performed and the benefits and risks of each? Maybe your baby needs to be born even sooner and an emergency C-section is necessary. There are still things to ask and consider. Are you okay with both of your arms being restrained or having one arm free to hold your baby during your C-section? Do you want a gentle cesarean? Would you like your doctor to talk with you through the surgery so you know how things are going? Or would you like a clear drape instead of a blue drape? Do you want music so your baby is born with a particular song playing? Your partner can even play this on their phone. Do you want your partner to announce the gender instead of the doctor if you're keeping the gender a surprise? If you know in advance that you need or want a C-section, it's still a good idea to have a C-section birth plan. We want you to be informed and have the best experience possible. Another part in your birth plan, have an immediate postpartum and newborn procedures area. Once your baby is born, first, congratulations. There are still some options that you should think about and know. For example, do you want to do delayed cord clamping? Are you going to save your placenta? Maybe you'll encapsulate it or do placenta baking. Do you want immediate skin to skin and have the golden hour? Are you okay with baby receiving their vitamin K shot, Hep B shot, erythromycin, eye ointment, and PKU testing? You don't have to say yes to all of these things right away, and that's important to know. Do you plan on breastfeeding or formula feeding? Are you okay with baby being given formula or sugar water at the hospital? Do you want baby to stay with you, or do you prefer that they go to the nursery so that you can get some sleep? If you want to breastfeed, you can ask the nurse to bring your baby to you when they are hungry if you choose to have them in the nursery. Also, would you like to see a lactation consultant for some extra support? Are you going to delay baby's first bath? Would you like your postpartum nurses to couple your night care? This way you won't be woken up every 30 minutes to an hour for them to check your vitals and you can get some sleep. These are all things and more to think about. Writing this in your birth plan helps them know your wishes not only for labor, but even after baby is born. My next recommendation is having a spot at the top for your top 3. I always like to ask my clients, what are the top 3 things that are most important to you for your labor and birth? It's nice to be able to see your biggest priorities at the top of your birth plan. Our birth plan template, which you can download for free, find it in the description, the link, has a highlighted top 3 section. And this ensures your team quickly understands what's most important to you if other things don't work out. Some ideas that you can include could be a vaginal birth, a VBAC, not getting an episiotomy, to labor freely, to limit vaginal checks, avoid tearing as much as possible, to get an epidural as soon as possible, to have your partner announce the baby's gender, and more. Each of these sections that I've mentioned helps create a picture of what matters most to you. To make things easier for you, again, I've created a downloadable birth plan template and birth plan checklist that covers each of these areas and more. You can find the link in the description below. All you have to do is share your name and email, and I will send them to you so you don't miss a thing. Next, let's talk about things to consider when writing your birth plan. There are a few things that you should be considering when putting together your birth plan, and the first thing is to keep it simple. Your care providers don't have a ton of time to review a 6-page birth plan. They also won't remember everything if it's that long because most likely they're caring for multiple laboring women at the same time. I suggest keeping your birth document to 1 page, front and back at most. They will thank you for this and will be better at following your wishes this way. Second, be flexible. Think of your birth plan as a list of your preferences rather than an absolute set of demands. Flexibility is key here because sometimes labor doesn't go exactly as we imagine, and that's okay. This is why being flexible and open-minded when thinking about your birth experience and writing out your birth plan is helpful. Of course, we hope that everything goes the way you desire and you get the birth experience that you want. Just remember that things can happen and that flexibility with your plan is key. And third, go over it with your medical provider before labor starts. When working on your birth plan, I recommend talking about your choices with your care provider during your prenatal visits. This will ensure that your doctor or midwife is on the same page as you and supports you with your wishes. Bring a final copy with you towards the end of your pregnancy, around 36, 37 weeks, and review it. Go over it with them once more. Because doctors and midwives care for many patients, bringing your birth plan to the birth as a reminder about these details will help remind them of your discussions and what's most important to you. I don't recommend relying on them to remember your conversations, so bring multiple copies. Creating a birth plan can make a huge difference in how you experience your baby's birth. When you've taken the time to prepare and communicate your wishes, it helps you feel empowered and calm and ready for whatever comes your way. Remember, I've got you covered with our free birth plan template and checklist linked below. You can download it today to start laying out your preferences with confidence and clarity. Thank you so much for joining me today in this video. If you found this helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more tips on pregnancy, birth, and beyond. Here's to feeling calm, confident, and fully prepared as you welcome your little one into the world.